It's done. It's happening. It's
We're live.
it froze for a second, but then don't worry. It
The
populated everything that
audacity.
I had said. We're good.
Again.
We're fine. We're fine. Welcome back to Oddities, friends. I'm Cassie.
I'm Kelly.
And welcome back to Strange Town.
Oddities. Stay strange.
As per usual, you'll find all of our information in the description, including links to our social media and merch shop and
Every episode we've ever recorded.
yeah, our website, our Patreon. If you'd like to support our show, you can find the link to it there. If you go to our website, it has links to all of the things. And as always, if you have any stories you'd like to share, spookala bookala, we'd love to hear them. If you just want to say hi, you can do that too. You can contact us through the website, or our email is in the description too. We're
Everything's
so
there.
we're so convenient.
We're so organized. Believe it or not.
I know, shocking, right? So organized, so convenient. Consider yourselves blessed.
We're just the easiest people in the world.
That's us. And this is officially spooky season when this comes out.
We are officially in the spooky season.
Happy spooky season.
Happy spooky season.
May it be both spookala and bookala.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it goes too fast. It only lasts one singular month. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
How's my bestie today?
Bestie's good. Bestie's thrilled because I'm recording with you yet again another morning of my week. Like,
We love it.
the weekdays. And you know what? I have to tell you, I had a substantially fantastic Tuesday despite the other thing that happened on that day. It was still a really good day because I recorded with my bestie.
Oh, I had a garbage day on Tuesday. You were the bright spot by far.
Ouch.
So thank you. You made it a tolerable day when everything else was complete and total garbage. Thank you so much for wonderful you.
Do you know, like, the highlight of the messages that you sent me that day? I treated myself. You just sent me a picture of your Starbucks.
I know you like that shit.
I was so proud of you for treating yourself. I was like, yay, that's my bestie.
And it tasted great. I did the pumpkin.
I'm glad.
The pumpkin ice chai. Love it. Every
It never
time.
disappoints.
It's so good. It's so sweet, but it's delish.
Sometimes you need it. Sometimes you need that.
That sugar rush.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, you're my sugar rush. Wasn't that was a song. That was like S Club 7 or some shit.
That just took me back to something. Oh my gosh.
I don't know who that was, but that just wow. Funny how
Well,
these things, I can't fucking remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember shit like that. Go figure. Go riddle me all of that.
Doesn't that concern you sometimes? Like, what?
So
why can I do
concerning.
that?
So concerning. So you're the only one standing in your house. Everybody's ill.
Yep.
You're surviving on Italian penicillin.
Yep.
I'm so proud of you.
Quite literally.
Stregonona.
Italian penicillin.
Yeah. I like your Luke's mug, by the way.
I love this mug. It brings me happiness.
We've restarted Gilmore Girls yet again in our house. My parents are on this journey with me, and they love it.
So have I. Because you have to do it every year.
It's cozy season.
It's what keeps you going. I don't make the rules.
I fucking hate the opening song, though. I skip it every time.
It's my ringtone for my mom.
Oh, brutal. I love that. I love the sentiment behind it. I don't know, something about Carole King's voice. I'm like, I can't do it on this. I just can't. I have exciting news, which you know.
Oh, I was thrilled you shared that video with me yesterday.
Were you not so proud? I knew you'd loved receiving the video, so I
I'm
had to
still
share it.
so proud.
Oh, thank you, Bestie. I won a little award at work for my tenacity. She's one tenacious bitch. Like
You
Tenacious
know,
D. Like our Lord and Savior Jack Black.
do you know what thrilled me about like that little speech?
What?
She's been with us for less than a year. That's right, bitches.
And she's a mentor to most of you, and I'm like, hell fucking
It
yeah.
just kept getting better and better and better. I was just like,
She did me a solid with that speech. That was a
that's
great
my
speech.
bestie.
Say it louder for the kids in the back.
You know what would have made that speech better though? I
What?
have some things to critique here.
Okay.
They should have said cast money. That's all.
They should have said cast money. And I'll have you know that the person who used to fuck up my name is no longer with the company.
Shut up.
I'm not sure.
How
if
long
it was...
have you been holding on to that tea?
Oh, like 2 days, not,
Oh,
not
okay.
very long.
I was
don't know
thinking
if
about
that
her
was...
yesterday. That's why.
I'm not sure if that was of her own accord or other circumstances. I really don't know. It's not my business, but I do know that it's no longer apparently an issue, and that no, the mispronunciation of my name had nothing to do with it.
Maybe
but
it
I
had
would
a little
still,
bit to do with it.
I'd still like to remain known as
Yes,
Cass
cast money.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh,
anyway,
that
that's
just
the
made my
happenings.
day. It is. What time is it? It is 5:52 in the morning, and I'm thrilled.
Oh, listen, you've
Woo!
already peaked. You might as well just go back to bed. It doesn't get better than this. So, yeah, so I'm actually going to receive like an actual little award in the mail. I'm excited to find, I got to find space and put it,
We
put it
need
on my
another
wall
shelf.
somewhere. I need another shelf. I got my award from 2 companies back there. The award I won at my last company, they didn't give me an actual award. They were just like, here, have a chair. So it's the chair that I'm sitting in. And, yeah, so I need to I need a spot. I'm proud of this shit.
I'm over the moon for you.
Thank you, bestie.
But
I knew
really,
you'd be psyched.
that one line, she's been with us for less than a year.
Yeah, 7 months. And here we are, making our mark. It's what we do.
I was like, yeah. Yeah.
Next stop, world domination. And yeah, so that's kind of honestly like, aside from having the joy of recording with you twice this week and starting the day with it, there's really not much else to report. The pig is away for work currently. He'll be back Friday in time for his birthday over the weekend. And so I'm here with mom and dad, and we're making soup tonight ourselves. But there's no
Ooh.
pastina in it, but it'll still be good. You're like, oh, damn. So, yeah. Wow. We're shy of our usual 13, but should we start the party?
We should totally start the party.
Start the party. Okay, I don't remember who went last week. So this is just a nice reflection of what I was saying earlier. Like, hey, like how I can
Yeah.
remember that random fucking song from my childhood, but not this.
Yeah, and I don't remember either, actually.
I covered the Witch of Yazoo. I feel like maybe
I think it was you.
I think I started. So do you want to do this? Because I'm excited.
Sure, because this is brought to you by TikTok and doom scrolling, and then
Shout out
yeah,
to doom
like
scrolling.
I'm covering the RMS Empress of Ireland.
Oh,
Just when you think we can't cover any more ships.
here we are, toot toot. But you know what? I like that because spooks. Ships are spooky, I think. Like inherently spooky.
This is also brought to you by Ocean Gate TikTok.
Listen, that has been all consuming.
Yeah.
All consuming. I've been following that trial, and I'm like providing my family updates, and they're like, we don't give a shit. And like I keep doing it because I can't get off of it.
I can't get off of it. No. There'll be a time, listeners, when we cover that. It's not yet.
This is not that
yet.
time. We need to let the rest of this unfold, and then I think we can.
Well, it's just also, we need to like let it.
Marinate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a different word.
Too soon.
It's too soon. The Empress of Ireland also sunk near where the Titanic sunk. However, in shallower waters,
Oh, okay.
the Empress of Ireland also learned its lesson, kind of, from the Titanic and had more lifeboats. But
Oh, okay.
tragically still lost too many souls. And we'll get to that in a
Jesus.
minute.
Okay.
The Yeah. So, again, this is brought to you by Doom Scrolling. So let's get into it.
I both want to take a cruise and also never take a cruise in my entire life.
The more I research ships, the more I go, "Nah, I don't need to get on a boat," which is hysterical because I grew up on boat.
I just there's
I grew up boating,
I'm so torn. I want to experience a cruise once in my life, especially like an Alaskan cruise. And then
especially the Iceland cruise.
yeah, or the Greenland one too, but then I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, well, am I going to Titanic 2.0, but all right,
yeah.
sorry, carry on.
The Empress of Ireland was the second pair of ocean liners ordered by Canadian Pacific steamships during the early years of operation of North Atlantic in 1903. Canadian Pacific officially entered the market for transatlantic passenger travel between the United Kingdom and Canada. In February of that year, they had purchased the Elder Dempster and Co., through which they obtained these three ships. The From Elder subsidiary, the Beaver Line. These ships were Lake Champlain, Lake Erie, and Lake Manitoba, and with Lake Champlain being the first to sail on the company's established route between Liverpool, England, and Montreal, Quebec.
It feels
Um,
weird to me that they named boats lakes. Like, are they not kind of asking for it? Like,
Canadian things.
yeah, like what do you are you all right, Canada? Like,
Um, the line provided successful on the North Atlantic trade as the first year 33 westbound crossings were completed by those ships, on which combined a total of 23,400 passengers traveled in third class, most of them immigrants bound for Canada. So,
oh,
like,
here we come.
yep.
Okay.
Again, they learned from what was intriguing to me was they did learn from the Titanic. They
I
had
mean, at
enough
least they put more
lifeboats.
boats. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm going to jump into the final crossing. The
Okay.
Empress of Ireland departed Quebec City for Liverpool at 4:30 local time on the 28th of May in 1914, manned by a crew of 420 and carrying 1,057 passengers. Roughly two-thirds of her total capacity in first class, the list of passengers was relatively small, with only 87 booked passengers. The small number did not, however, spare the inclusion of some rather notable figures from both sides of the Atlantic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Um, Colonel Robert Bloomfield of New Zealand's 3rd Mounted Regiment, his wife Isabel, and their daughter Hilda. Lawrence Irving, son of a famous Victorian stage actor Sir Henry Irving, who since 1912 had been on extended stage tour of Australia and North America, together with his wife and stage partner Mabel Haneke. Sir Henry Senton Carr, from a former member of the British House Commons, returning home from a hunting trip to British Columbia. Henry Lyman, head of the firm Lyman and Sons and Co., which in 1914 was the largest pharmaceutical company in Canada, bound for Europe for a belated honeymoon with his young wife Florence. Wallace Palmer, associated editor of the Financial Times, and his wife Ethel. George Smart, inspector of the British Immigrant Children and Receiving Homes. Lieutenant Charles Tiley of the Canadian Army, and his wife Martha. Second class saw a considerably larger booking of just over a capacity of 253 passengers, owed greatly to the large party of the Salvation Army members and their families, numbering 170 in all, who were traveling to attend the Third International Salvation Army Congress in London.
Of course.
And third class saw the largest booking, which was 717 passengers, and was nearly filled to capacity.
I
Usually
wonder
third
how
class.
long. Yeah, usually I feel like they're like sardines in there.
Yeah.
I wonder how long the trip from Canada to like London takes.
Boat-wise?
Yeah. I don't know. Like a week? I don't know how that I don't know. I'm not good with that.
Traveling by boat, that was like the main form of travel, right?
Yeah,
Ugh. Ugh.
I know. I know. Although, I mean, we also had like railroads, but cannot do, obviously.
Sorry.
Not an
The mental
option.
image I just had was hilarious. Sorry.
The water train.
That was great. The Empress of Ireland reached the point at Au Pier in the early hours of the 29th of May 1914, where the pilot disembarked. She resumed a normal outward bound course of about north 76th east, 76 degrees, and soon sighted a masthead lights, a Norwegian collier in her starboard bow and distant several miles. Likewise, which the course was west and 259 degrees. The Empress of Ireland masted lights. These first sightings were made clear in the weather conditions, but the fog soon enveloped the ships. The ships and their fog whistles, they ended up colliding.
Oh no.
And that was the tragedy. It wasn't a iceberg.
No,
Like
it
the
was another
Titanic.
ship instead.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Empress of Ireland was severely damaged. A gaping hole in her side caused the lower decks to flood at an alarming rate. To the crew, and the Captain Kendall shouted with the megaphone to keep her engines at full power and plug the hole. But the Empress of Ireland continued her forward motion, and the lower decks began to flood, and it gave the passengers a zero chance to get to safety.
Jesus. So what about the other ship? I'm assuming they got like fucked up.
No, because the other ship was actually much larger, and they were the ones that collided into her.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting.
So the other ship was actually there and actually did what they could to help, but the damage was done. 964 were dead.
Oh boy.
Total were 403 rescued.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah. According to the headlines. Signals apparently were ignored, and the way that it was hit, or at least this is the diagram, it was like a side swipe.
Right.
And so she was sideswiped, and then she just started sinking. There was nobody could get to those amazing lifeboats that they had on the boat.
Oh, Jesus. Those poor people.
The depth in which they sunk, it's only, and I say it's only because it's still deep, 130 feet of water.
Okay, but it's so much less than like the other one, you know?
Yeah. People actually dive there frequently.
I'm sure.
Professionals dive there frequently. I want to make that clear because the waters are actually quite rapid. It's not talked about often.
Yeah.
The lights and power of the Empress of Ireland eventually failed 5 or 6 minutes after the collision. The ship plunged into the darkness. 10 minutes after the collision, the ship rolled violently over onto her starboard side, allowing as many as 700 passengers and crew to crawl out of the portholes and onto the decks and her port side. The ship was on her side, and about 14 minutes, she sunk.
Oh God, it really fast. Holy
It
cow.
was incredibly fast. There was zero time.
Wow. Oh, those poor people.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
This one really did have a chokehold on me just because of that. Like,
The number of people.
the number of people, how fast it happened.
Yeah.
There was zero time to react.
Yeah. It's things like this that make boats spookala bookala for me. I'm like a super strong swimmer, but like I don't just
I
it
think
doesn't
when
matter. Yeah.
when you mix chaos and adrenaline and panic,
Yeah.
right? Out of the survivors, there was 4 children
Oh.
out of 138,
Oh my God. Well, those kids have trauma for the rest of their lives.
41 women out of 310,
Oh.
172 men out of 609, and 248 crew out of 420.
Well, actually, the crew fared pretty well out of all of them.
Right?
All of them.
The fact that most of the passengers were asleep at the time of the sinking
Yeah.
it contributed to most of the loss.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess
yeah.
if I ever take a cruise, I'm just not going to sleep
yeah, I don't know that
the
I
whole
could
fucking
sleep.
time. I'm also going to see if I can get a room on the deck. I'm just going to put a tent on the deck.
Michael and I have talked about cruises, and I've always said I need a room that has a balcony, because there's rooms that are like
Yeah.
you know I can't do
Yeah.
that.
Internal. No.
I
That
can't do
feels
the
it-
internal
it's
rooms. No, thank
it's
you.
giving claustrophobia.
It's
I think I
giving
would.
panic. It's giving no, thank you. It's giving.
I'm
no.
aware. I'm aware that the balcony
I
rooms are
need.
more expensive.
I need 2.
But I would.
I need 2 exit strategies.
Yeah, make it up or make it out the balcony. You know, you just got to do what you need to do. So yeah. Okay, good. So if the 4 of us ever take a cruise together, the 2 of us are gonna be panicking the whole time. Really
The 2
solid.
of us are gonna have constant exit strategies.
We need
everywhere we go.
we need Xannies. We're just gonna be Xanaxed up the entire cruise.
And
Wow,
that's
you
the
know
Empress
what?
of Ireland. So
Well done. I don't think I had ever heard of this. Like I knew nothing about this
I'd
ship.
never known about it until freaking TikTok.
Doom
like-
Talk.
Doom Talk.
You like
I
that?
love that.
You like that? You're welcome.
Bestie.
Trademarked.
Oh my gosh.
No, that was good. Well done. No, I had absolutely never heard of this ship. I knew nothing of this.
Thank you, Ocean Gate, for bringing ships to my attention.
Thanks, Ocean Gate.
Thank you, TikTok, for continuing to bring history topics to my attention that I like and throw onto my list. To the people of the Empress of Ireland, I'm sorry that you were lost. Empress of Ireland, kudos to you for trying to be prepared. Sorry you got hit.
Yeah. That's brutal. I could not possibly have a more different topic.
I know you do.
This actually came from a listener a long, long while back, and I'm finally getting around to it. And I never wrote down your name. I am so sorry, but hopefully you're still listening and you know who you are. This is Espresso Coachella. I hope you like it.
Oh, that was so good.
Thank you. So today,
Even the way you said it was so good. Oh
Thank
my
you.
god.
thank you. So I'm covering Harry Houdini's final trick. The entire time I was researching this, all I could think was like that hand game that I used to play as a kid where it was like Harry Houdini had a 40-foot weenie, showed it to the lady next door. Did you do that one too?
This episode is just bringing back childhood shit, Cassie.
Brutal. So, yeah, we have Harry Houdini's final trick. I didn't realize this. Harry Houdini died on Halloween. How spookala bookala.
Tell me he didn't plan that.
Well, okay. Let's just get this shit started. So, Eric Weiss, aka Harry Houdini, was, as we know, a Hungarian American escape artist, illusionist, and stunt performer, noted most notably for his crazy like escape acts. That was like his, thing. But he actually first attracted notice in vaudeville in the US. At that time he was known as Harry Handcuff Houdini.
I'm not going to say what's in my head.
Yep. So he was on a tour of Europe and he challenged police forces to keep him locked up. And soon he extended his repertoire to include chains, ropes slung from skyscrapers, straight jackets underwater, and having to escape from and hold his breath inside a sealed milk can with water in it.
Kinky.
Nah, come on. So anyway, in 1904, thousands watched as Houdini tried to escape from special handcuffs commissioned by the London's Daily Mirror, keeping them in suspense for like an hour. And another stunt saw him buried alive, only just able to claw himself to the surface, emerging in essentially a state of like near breakdown, which like same. A lot of people like suspected that the escapes were faked. Houdini presented himself as the scourge of fake spiritualists. This is a whole thing. He was like very anti the spiritualism movement. He had this like personal crusade to expose all the fraudulent methods that people were doing with seances and all this other shit at the time. And he was also president of the Society of American Magicians. He was very keen to uphold professional standards and expose fake artists. And he was also quick to sue anyone who imitated his escape stunts. Now, what's funny to me is he's like, I want to expose fraudulent artists. But isn't that what, like, magic acts are? It's all illusion. It's all fake.
Yeah.
Like, at the root of it, But anyway. He actually made several movies, but he quit acting because it didn't bring in money. He was like, well, not my thing. I'm out. Bye, Hollywood. So he was also a keen aviator. He became the first man to fly a powered aircraft in Australia.
Whoa.
I know. Whatever. So let's go back to his early life a little bit here. He was born in Budapest to a Jewish family. His parents were Rabbi Meir Samuel Weitz and Cecilia Steiner. Houdini was one of 7 children. So that was a lot. The family, well, some of the family, arrived to the United States July 3rd, 1878 on the SS Frisia with his mother, who was pregnant at the time, and 4 brothers. The family then changed their name to the German spelling Weiss, or Weiss, I guess it would be, Weiss, and Eric became Erich. And the family lived in Appleton, Wisconsin, and his father was a rabbi of the Zion Reformed Jewish congregation there. I didn't know he was hanging out in Wisconsin. For some reason in my mind, I was always like linking up Harry Houdini with like New York. I don't know. Anyway, according to the 1880,
too.
right? Like, but I guess they were like, "Hey, Wisconsin sounds great. Love the cheese or whatever." So anyway, direct quote. So according to the 1880 census, the family lived on Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin. But now the area is known as Houdini Plaza.
Okay.
June 6th, 1882, Rabbi Weiss becomes an American citizen. He loses his job at Zion, but then his family moves to Milwaukee, and they fall into dire poverty at this point. Then, at this point, and this is why I think we associate him with New York City, Rabbi Weiss moved with Eric/Harry Houdini to New York City, just the two of them. And they live in this like boarding house. And then the rest of the family joins them once Rabbi Weiss finds permanent housing. And as a child, Harry Houdini/Eric Weiss took several jobs, and he made his public debut as a 9-year-old trapeze artist, calling himself Eric, the Prince of Air.
Eric.
Eric. It's Ehrich. I feel like it's Eric. He was also a champion cross-country runner in his youth. So all in all, Harry Houdini was a fit-ass dude. So anyway, over 30 years, he like moves on, he becomes this magician. He rises to fame. I'm not going to go into all of that because I'm mostly focusing on essentially his death. But for over 30 years, he dazzles audiences with his crazy stunts, his superhuman endurance, like all of this wild shit. So, what is it that actually killed Harry Houdini and his 40-foot weenie?
It's the way you looked at me while saying that.
I had to make the eye contact. So, his heart pounding getaways usually involve some kind of healthy dose of trickery, I guess like extreme sleight of hand, if you will. But they were also like fraught with very genuine risk. In 1915, like I said, he nearly suffocated during a stunt when he was shackled and buried alive under 6 feet of dirt. And he basically made his career out of surviving the impossible, which only made circumstances of his death in 1926 all the more like, ooh, what the hell? So the 52-year-old, he performed before a packed house in Detroit on October 24th. He was rushed to the hospital afterward with an apparent case of appendicitis, and he dies a week later on Halloween, leaving legions of admirers basically bewildered. They're like, what the fuck? There was this obituary in the New York Times that expressed shock at the sudden passing of the man, quote, who so often seemed to thousands to be cheating the very jaws of death. First of all, what a badass sentence. Like, so cool.
Well, he was
Anywho,
cool.
he was cool. So the strange series of events that led to Houdini's demise kicked off several weeks earlier, actually, on October 11th, 1926. While being shackled into his Chinese water torture cell during a performance in Albany, New York, he is struck on the leg by a piece of faulty equipment, and he hobbles his way through the rest of the show, and he's later found to have sustained a fractured left ankle. Against doctor's orders, he continues his tour, and he travels to Montreal, and he gives this lecture at McGill University. And then a few days later, October 22nd, he invites some McGill students to visit him in his dressing room at the Princess Theater, which sounds like kind of sketchy to me, but I think he was just like, whatever, get to know Houdini. Anyway, his sore ankle was still bothering him, so he kind of like sat down on the couch while the whole group was chatting or whatever. At some point, one of the students, his name was J. Gordon Whitehead, he arrives and he asks Houdini if it's true that he could resist hard punches to his abdomen. This was a claim that the magician had supposedly made, like in public at some point. According to another student there, a witness, Sam Smilovitz, when Houdini said the rumors were true, Whitehead abruptly delivers 4 or 5, quote, terribly forcible, deliberate, well-directed blows to Houdini's stomach. Houdini was still reclined on the couch and had no time to prepare for the punches, which appeared to leave him in substantial pain. So at the time, Houdini brushes off the incident. The same evening, he began to complain of discomfort and like stomach cramping, and his condition worsens the next day, and he boards an overnight train to Detroit for like a new slew of performances. Then, Houdini develops severe abdominal pain, cold sweats, and fatigue, and his temperatures skyrocket to 104 degrees. I know. So a doctor suspects appendicitis, which, like, I mean, yeah. Instructs him to go to a hospital, but Houdini instead insists on taking the stage for his opening night show at the Garrick Theater in Detroit, and he proceeds to struggle through his routine before collapsing immediately after the final curtain. And that show would be Houdini's last. That same night, he's taken to a Detroit hospital. He is prepped for surgery. The doctors remove his appendix successfully, which was found to have ruptured several days earlier. But it had already essentially poisoned him. He was septic, basically. And despite a grim prognosis, the magician clung to life until October 31st when he died with his wife Bess and his 2 brothers by his side. The official cause of death was listed as peritonitis caused by a ruptured appendix. At the time, the magician's doctors firmly believed that this associated illness was the result of the fucking punches from that asshole Whitehead that had given him during their like backstage encounter back in Montreal. Such cases of, quote, traumatic appendicitis, it's what it's known, they're very rare. One study found only a couple dozen instances in a nearly 20-year period that the study like occurred over, but in 1926 the diagnosis was widely accepted, and his life insurance company was even forced to pay his wife a double indemnity for accidental death. But then doubts arise over all of this, right? So Houdini's laid to rest, in Queens, New York, November 4th, 1926. Rumors about his unusual death have persisted basically on and off ever since that shit. A lot of theories tend to focus on his contentious relationship with spiritualism, which I've covered in the past, this sort of like pseudo religion, if you will, that people who adhere to it claim it was possible to communicate with the dead through seances, mediums, whatever. Big movement. But anyway, Houdini was a born skeptic. He spent much of the 1920s on a mission to debunk the spiritualist claims and expose its top psychics as frauds. He goes on essentially this big crusade against this shit. It earns him millions of dollars worth of lawsuits against him, clearly more than a few enemies. But when he died, he showed no signs of letting up. And in fact, just a few months earlier, he had testified in front of Congress in support of a bill to outlaw fortune telling in Washington, D.C. Like, okay. Anyway, so people are like, okay, could this have gotten him killed? I don't know. There is this biography that was written in 2006 that says essentially, it's called The Secret Life of Houdini. And it basically says that the death may have been a carefully planned assassination by members of the spiritualist community. It's said that, oh my God, I failed on my jiggling. Okay, I fixed it. It is said that if one were to suspect him a victim of like foul play, then the section of organized crime that was composed of fraudulent spirit mediums must be considered likely suspects. Some argue that the spiritualists have a history of poisoning their enemies, and that they note that no autopsy was ever performed to really confirm that Houdini's death was actually caused by the appendicitis. Given what he had going on, if somebody poisoned him in addition to it, it would be kind of relatively well hidden if they didn't do an autopsy.
Yeah.
He had all those sick symptoms, so, whatever. There's also, of course, considerable debate that's focused on the student, J. Gordon Whitehead, who like essentially beat the shit out of Houdini. There's another book called The Man Who Killed Houdini, and there's this theory that Whitehead may have been in league with the spiritualists, some of who had previously threatened to kill Houdini or have him beaten up. But it was concluded essentially that there's not enough evidence to connect Whitehead to any sort of overarching criminal plot. But others have argued that he was an enemy agent who stalked Houdini during his time in Montreal. So this begs the question of, overall, was Houdini murdered, or was this all just kind of like a weird, like, accident? The true case probably is never going to be known. The majority of scholars tend to dismiss the murder theories as, like, speculation. For them, the more pressing question is whether his ruptured appendix had any connection to the punches he had received for a few days earlier. And while the evidence shows that such a condition is possible, a lot of people consider it to be more likely that, like, Houdini might have already had, like, this oncoming case of appendicitis. The punches might have simply caused Houdini to ignore the oncoming, like, appendicitis, and he was probably just like, oh, like, I'm hurting because this kid, like, beat the shit out of me. And by the time the magician finally sought out treatment, the theory goes that it was already too late. Interestingly, though, perhaps the most like sought after source of information about his death would, of course, be none other than Houdini himself. Essentially, in what amounted to his ultimate test of the spiritualist claims, the magician promised his wife, Bess, that he would try and communicate with her from beyond the grave. And so Bess, this is really sad actually, she went on to hold an annual Houdini seance for 10 years after his death, and she finally abandoned the search in 1936. People have since then picked up the tradition, and they tried to make the seance a Halloween tradition, but so far, Houdini's ghost has refused to speak. And that is the death of Harry Houdini. I don't know what I believe. I think it is possible that, like, maybe he had, like, the timing of those punches might have just been, like, kind of the final nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah.
I do understand the theories that people have about the whole spiritualism movement thing. I could see where they would think that maybe that kid was associated with it, especially given, like, McGill as a whole is known to be, like, a very sort of, like, I mean, it's a really renowned school. Great education there. It's a little eccentric. It's a little, like, artsy. It's a little different, like, whatever. So if, like, spiritualism was a big thing there, and I don't know if it was, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think ultimately what it comes down to is technically, yeah, he was kind of murdered because I think it aggravated an already bad situation.
I think he was murdered, and I am on the same page as you.
Yeah, like I don't know that he was poisoned. I could see where that could be an option.
For some reason, I have it in my head that when he was punched, there was like tiny needles between his fingers with poison
Ooh.
on them.
Ooh.
That's what's in my head right now. I don't know why. It's the conspiracy
Ooh.
theorist in me, maybe.
Conspiracy theories. I love that. I mean, I don't love that for Harry Houdini, but like, I mean,
But like,
solid suggestion.
possibilities, I guess.
Listen, anything's possible. I think overall it's pretty solid mystery. I was bummed for his wife that she held these seances. He never showed. Um, because I don't think that can be a thing. But
Yeah.
regardless, I think that, it was a really interesting piece of history to look up. I didn't know much about this at all. Other than,
I didn't know he died on Halloween.
I thought he died as a result of one of his tricks, so I had it totally wrong.
Same.
Yeah, I had it way wrong. I think he was probably a little bit of a jackass for insisting, like, I'm gonna go on with the show, even though I've got this 104-degree fever and I'm clearly extremely ill. But
Yeah.
that's on Harry. Whatever.
The show must go on. What a
Yeah,
cliche.
it's okay, dude. Like you can just refund the tickets or whatever. So, anyway, thank you to whoever sent this in a long, long time ago. I hope you're still listening. I hope I did it justice. Let us
Wow.
know, kids. What an episode, right?
Yeah.
This was a fun one. Let us know what you think about everything. And until next time.
Stay strange.